I am Megan and welcome to Battle Royale with Cheese, the website you can get all of your TV and film news, reviews and trailers. And yeah, you're getting a video pretty much immediately after the last one. The last one was actually supposed to come out a couple of days beforehand, but I actually couldn't get connected to the channel. My internet wasn't doing very well, so unfortunately you did get that late, or later than what I intended. So yeah, video pretty much a couple of days later, but last night I went to finally go and see IronLung. So I've done a trailer talk on this, I think it was a couple of months back. This is Markiplier'S adaptation of the video game of the same name. I have been really looking forward to this for quite a few years. This has been in development for a few years and had problems getting distributed, getting out there, and yeah, it's actually, at the time that I'm recording this, the Cineworld chain in the UK have actually decided they're going to go for a full run instead of just showing it over the weekend. So that was pretty much, I think, decided either this morning or yesterday or something. So clearly, screenings are selling out really, really fast even here. And I'll go into that more actually after the review. But just a heads up, I am going to split this into non-spoiler review stuff. Then there's going to be a spoiler image. And then I'm going to go into a couple of spoilers. Not too much, but just stuff I want to talk about a bit more freely. But yeah, this will also contain spoilers. But don't worry, I'll have a spoiler image beforehand, before we get to that. So don't worry, you will get a verbal and visual warning. But IronLung is the adaptation of the video game of the same name, taking place after an event known as the Quiet Rapture. Markiplier plays a convict who is sent down into a very roughly built submarine into the blood ocean of a desolate moon. So like with the trailer talk, that's all I'm going to say in terms of the plot. There is a little bit more to it, but I feel like that's kind of spoiler things a little bit. But also, that is kind of what the basic premise of the game is. The game is very vague in what you're doing and what you're looking for, but it's vague on purpose. It's there to give you just enough information to make you theorise about what's going on, what caused the Quiet Rapture, which is the end of the world event that happens before the film actually starts. And yeah, it's just to give you enough to be like, okay, this is what I think is going on, this is why I think it's going on. The film does give you a bit more answers, which I kind of liked, but not too much. I feel like sometimes when films give you all of the answers, it's just like, okay, well, there's not really much else to talk about then and theorise then. So horror films especially kind of have a problem with this kind of thing. You know, they'll give the villain the whole origin story and then there's no mystery around them. And I feel like this film did the right amount of, here's some of the answers, but not all of them. And I actually think they balanced this really well. This film's fantastic. Oh my god, this film. At the end, hearing someone next to me, because it was quite a packed cinema. Like I said, the screenings have been doing really well to sell out here, and have been selling out really, really quickly. So I was quite lucky to get a cinema ticket for this. Me and the person next to me, it ended, and we both just looked at each other and just went, oh my god. Because the last half of this is really intense. I'm going to get the negative stuff out of the way first, just so we can finish with positive stuff. It's a bit too long. I don't really have too many negatives with this one. It is mainly the pacing. It's a bit too long. I feel like 10-15 minutes could have been shaved off to make it a bit more concise. Because there's definitely moments in this that kind of feel like, okay, come on, time to get the ball rolling onto the next thing that's going to happen. Let's get the ball rolling on the next objective or disruption that's going to happen on the convict's journey. I feel like it could have been a bit better with the pacing. That is mainly a complaint for the first half, to be honest. The second half definitely has, it seems much more comfortable with its pacing, but the first half, if you can get past like maybe the first, I don't know, the first like 15 minutes, I enjoyed it, but I definitely know it's probably going to be it's probably going to feel a little bit slow. There was definitely one point in the first act where I was just like, okay, let's get moving. Let's keep going. But that's kind of my only criticism with this. I have heard some criticisms that some of the sound mix is a bit all over the place. I can't really comment on this too much because the sound mix and the way that my local cinema did the speakers wasn't really very good anyway. I've been to that same cinema for other films, and their sound mixing and the way that they play the audio in films is never really that good anyway, so I can't really feel I can talk about that. I feel like the cinematography and the score and the sound is just as much of a character here as Markiplier is. Because, oh my god, it did exactly what I was hoping it was going to do. So if you remember on my trailer talk video, I said, I don't want jump scares, but I want the fear of the unknown to be demonstrated through sound. Because it's all in one location in this one submarine. The whole film plays on the fear of the unknown because it's a blood ocean. It's so dark out there. You don't know what's out there. The camera that he uses to see what's going on is exactly the same as the game, but it makes the images come out really, really creepy. There's a lot of creepy imagery in here as well. And yeah, the sound design is fantastic. The score is really, really good. And now granted, I haven't played the game, but I've played Markiplier's playthrough of the game before, but I don't really remember it, so I can't remember if some of the score on the soundtrack is the same as what's in the game, so I do apologise for that. But the score is fantastic. It's really, really good, and the sound design is really good as well. You'll hear something or hear the ship scrape up against something, but you won't know what it is. And that is really where it gets its tension and scares from. Plus also the cinematography is fantastic as well. There's a lot of Dutch tilts, like sort of upside down shots that suddenly go upright. There's a lot of really disorientating shots, and the way that they've been shot makes it look really disorientating, but it all works for this narrative, for this location, and for this scenario. Yeah, this is a very, very pretty, such a weird way to describe it, but a very pretty film. And then we got to talk about Markiplier himself. He was fantastic. Again, I feel like maybe the first 15 minutes is a little bit wonky because, one, you're getting used to the pacing of the film and what's going on, but also you're getting used to the fact that Markiplier, who is usually a silly, funny guy on YouTube, I know some of his videos are quite serious as well, but that is what he is kind of known as. And if you're not used to him being in something quite serious, that's also going to take a bit of time to get used to. I sort of got quite comfortable with his acting quite quickly, but I feel like if you're not expecting this to be what is actually a very serious horror film, it probably will take you a bit to get used to that. But he is very, very good in this. He has to carry the whole film, and he really does. So yeah, he did a really good job on this. Not just that, but I've mentioned this already, this was also written, directed, self-funded by Mark, and yeah, you can see how much he really wanted to make this. This really feels like a passion project of his. But I think also he gives a bit of a sympathetic side to the convict as well, and I'll go more into that in spoilers because I don't really want to spoil that, but it definitely gave the character a more sympathetic side. There was a few moments where I got a bit emotional as well, which I wasn't actually expecting. And then the last thing I want to talk about is, obviously, this is about a character going through a blood ocean. This film holds the record for the most amount of fake blood used in a film. I think the previous record was held by the Evil Dead remake from 2013. And yeah, oh my god, it looks so creepy and so unnerving. And I've already mentioned like the imagery and stuff that you see from the cameras. And yeah, the film did a really, really good job of showing really creepy imagery, reminding you that this is a really uncanny and terrifying situation. And it's constantly terrifying and constantly threatening. And yeah, it looks incredible, but oh my god. Oh. The last thing I want to bring up actually is the whole distribution and this existing in the first place. And I don't mean as in the video game, but I mean as in the fact that this has got distributed at all. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant for a moment, so I'll put a timestamp for when I sort of stop maybe. But I feel like the film industry kind of needs to keep up and update itself with what to expect from filmmakers, because Markiplier's talked about this a lot over the last few years, like how difficult it's been for him to try and get this out there, for him to get this distributed, and his plan was always to put this in cinema, and it's taken such a long time. I don't even think he got streaming services wanting to approach this, purely because, I've said this already, but purely because the film industry kind of sees him as, oh, he's the funny, screaming gaming person on YouTube. Like, they don't take him seriously, and I feel like this film kind of proves that, well, actually, you kind of need to give people a chance. You need to give different type of filmmakers a chance. But also, the fact that this took ages to distribute and actually be released doesn't make sense to me. So there's a YouTube channel called Raka Raka, which, if you don't recognise them, you've definitely seen their films, you definitely know their films. They did Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, which are two of the most insane horror films of the last few years, but they were made by YouTubers. So I feel like, yeah, give YouTubers a chance. Yes, some of them do make some garbage, but a lot of them are actually really passionate about filmmaking, are passionate about wanting to get their work out there outside of YouTube. And I really do feel like it's time to give these people a bit more of a chance, especially when you're saying no to Mark but yes to these other guys who also do comedy skits on their YouTube channel. I just feel like it's gotten to a point where, you know, it's 2026 now. I feel like people need to be a bit more open about allowing different type of filmmakers to make films, because there are some really interesting films out there and a lot of unique ideas out there that are not necessarily coming from the same filmmakers that we've seen over and over again. There's a lot of stuff happening on YouTube as well. I just wanted to get that out there, because it is something that's been bugging me, especially with how long this has taken. The fact that it's fantastic, and it, in America alone, it sold out, a couple of thousand screens across America, like very, very quickly. It's just insane. So, give these people a chance. Okay, I'll put a timestamp in for when my rambling happens, but let's quickly get on to spoilers, because I've been recording for a while. Okay, so I talked about the fact that the convict was made to seem quite sympathetic here. And the reason for that is because of the reason that he is on this mission in the first place. So the whole premise is the convict has been originally put on death row, but instead of that, he's been told, hey, you're going to be literally welded shut into this very flimsy submarine. And that's pretty much told to you straight away. Like, they don't even know if this is going to survive the blood oceans that it's about to go down into. And he is tasked with finding any samples of life, dead or alive. But throughout the film, the mission kind of changes. At one point, he finds another submarine after he was already told, oh, you're the first one down here, you're the first one that we've done this with. Turns out they were lying, and he finds the other submarine, and then the mission changes again to, okay, well, you need to get their black box and recover the files from that because it's important. He keeps getting told, this is bigger than you or me, this is important for humanity. It doesn't give you everything, like, it doesn't give you all the answers there, so it doesn't tell you, why is this important for humanity? Why did the other people go down there as well if he was told, oh, you're the first one? Like, those kind of questions. But I think for this kind of film, that's okay. Because, again, I already talked about, oh, you give people enough just to like theorize and make up their own minds of what they think is going on. And then the third act goes completely mental in the best way. So, oh my god. So, basically, the convict finds out that the ocean and the creatures that are down there have now got a life of their own. It's kind of been the blood that's been seeping into this very flimsy submarine has started getting a life of its own. It sort of started growing inside the submarine. The only way I can think to describe it is like if you've ever seen Annihilation with Natalie Portman, and they find, I think it's a human corpse, but it's got like these weird like tree-like, not vines, but like veiny type things around it, like it's embedded into the wall. If I find a picture, I'll show it on here, because I can't think how else to describe this. But that starts sort of happening, except it's like blood red and black inside the submarine, and you find out that that's its own life form. And I will just be up front, there is a bit of a gruesome moment at the end. I know, surprise. Blood ocean, and there's a gruesome bit. But there's a moment where the convict gets his hand stuck. He puts his hand on a pipe, and these weird things start growing over it, like very rapidly. It reminds me actually of like the red weed from War of the Worlds, if you've ever seen that film or read the book. It's very much like that, where it starts growing over him. So he literally has to rip his whole arm off to get his hand free. Well, I mean, I guess he gets himself free. But yeah, that's the only sort of really gruesome part in the film, but it happens quite quickly, as well as other things happening at the same time. So it doesn't really give you too much to process that compared to what else is happening at the same time. I do also get the feeling that there's like some religious undertones. I can't remember if that's in the game actually as well, but it's definitely in the film. There's a moment where after he finds that second submarine, he hears a voice over the intercom that's new. And she at first tells him, "Oh, I'm one of the survivors, I'm still on the ship, have you come to rescue me?" And at first she sounds quite normal, but as the film goes on and she keeps coming back to talk to him, her voice starts becoming a bit more possessed and a bit more like Evil Dead-like, which sounded really creepy, by the way. And from what I could gather, it was the voice of this creature. The best way to describe it is this giant anglerfish with like giant teeth that come up past its head and like teeth going all the way round. Like I said, there was some really creepy imagery in here, and you do get to see what this thing looks like, and it's really, really creepy. But I got the impression that the voice you're listening to is the voice of that creature. What I got from the ending was that the creature is like an angel of death, essentially. There's a moment in it as well where the voice is sort of normal and friendly and asks the convict, "Oh, what did you do?" And the convict says, "Oh, I blew up, or the station was blown up. I was there, and the people that I was with blew it up. I was trying to stop it, and it blew up anyway, and I was the one that was caught." And that whole scene really felt like a, confess your sins kind of scene. It really felt that way, like the way the dialogue was done, the way the shot was structured and the sequence was structured with the cinematography, it really felt like that. And then even near the end as well, or when he first sees this big creature, it really felt like, oh, you want him to come to the light and see the light and embrace it kind of thing. Like there's a lot of things to do with, oh, when the Quiet Rapture happened. Even the name of the End of the World event is the Quiet Rapture. It's very like got religious undertones to it, but the Quiet Rapture was all the stars suddenly disappeared and then the planets followed. And then suddenly these new moons appeared that were covered in blood. But there's talk about, oh, this light that happened just before the last tree died on Earth. And yeah, it very much felt like very religious undertones, Christianity and talk of that, and heaven and hell. And oh, heaven has passed, the rapture has happened, and now we're in hell. Like, it felt very much like that. So I also said about the pacing, I thought it was a bit too long. It did kind of feel like it ended twice, so I feel like there's a moment where he's hallucinating. He's kind of realised he's hallucinating. The woman, leads him to a certain place, and this is when her voice starts to change and gets a bit demonic, essentially. And it tells him, you know, come to the light, like embrace the lightness. If you've seen the very first trailer where you've got the convict covered in blood, it's kind of that kind of scene where he suddenly rises up from the ocean. It seemed to imply that he had like shackles on his wrists, and he's like being forced to bow down to this giant like anglerfish like creature. And I say creature because it doesn't look like a regular anglerfish, but that's the best animal I can think of to compare it to. But I thought that would have been an interesting way to end it, like him embracing the end. But I feel like at the same time you needed a bit more just to show that actually he was still willing to fight. He was still willing to complete this mission of transferring the black box files over to the people on the surface, the last remaining humans. So I kind of get why it kept going, but I do feel like that crazy moment would have been a good place to end as well. So while I'm saying, oh, it felt like it had two endings, and it felt like it could have had two endings, actually what was after that insane moment was kind of necessary, actually. So yeah, could have ended there. Glad it didn't at the same time, but it would have been a very interesting ending if it had ended with him bowing down to that creature. Because I feel like at the end of the day, the ending is kind of him just giving in and embracing what the ocean is and what has happened, and yeah, essentially also the resignation of he's not going back, he's stuck there. So it's him also giving up in a way as well. So yeah, that's all I need to say on IronLung. I've been recording for quite a while, I do apologise. I didn't quite realise I had a lot to say with this one, but I really, really enjoyed it. Had a couple of pacing issues, I thought, but I actually really enjoyed this. Very, very intense, very good adaptation of the video game, but I think at the same time, I think this was a good video game to adapt because there's just the basic premise and then you can kind of add your own story onto it afterwards. So I think this was the best example to do that with. But yeah, still a very, very good film, very good adaptation. This looked incredible. Markiplier, you've done amazing. This was so good. And yeah, I definitely want to go see it again. You don't necessarily have to know about the game to go see this. That is the other thing I was going to bring up. You don't have to know about the original game. You can kind of go into this a bit blindly because it's not, like I said, the premise is very basic and very surface level. So yeah, you don't need previous knowledge of the game to go and see this. So yeah, if you want to go see this, please go see this. This was fantastic, and the fact that it was all self-funded by Markiplier, written, starring, directing, is such an achievement. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. I'm going to go see it again. But that was my review on IronLung. I am Megan, this is Battle Royale with Cheese. See you soon.